Welcome to Strong Personalities. This is Yanni Bear bringing you the big personalities behind all the big muscle and strongman. Today, my guest is Magnús Ver Magnússon. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, thank you.
Can you hear me pretty well? Can you see me and everything?
Yeah, I can see you okay now.
I know you were being sabotaged earlier when we first started. I'm not going to name names, but all right. So I read that you were a fisherman, you were a farmer, and then you were also a bouncer. Which of those three jobs did you have the most fun with?
I had the most fun on the farms.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. The farms were more when I was a young boy and even just 10 years old, driving the tractors and everything. So doing all the work that needed to be done. It was a lot of fun. Being a bouncer, it was a job to work at night. So actually, because it's night pay, so you get better pay, so you don't have to work as many hours.
Yep.
And I could have more time to train.
Oh, okay. So it was something to okay. So I used to be a bouncer as well, and you're right. It is a lot more fun just because you don't have to wake up as early. You make a little bit more money, and then I feel like just as strongman, we naturally gravitate towards those positions because we kind of have like that intimidating. But usually, we're one of the nicest people around, right? So we're like big teddy bears. So
it was
I also
shift to do anything.
Say that again.
It was a good shift if you didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. You just stand there, and if anybody gives you trouble, you just flex on them, and then they stop acting up. So I also saw that you went to car mechanic school. Do you still like to work on cars?
Actually, I went to ship mechanics, like welding and stuff like that. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you still weld? Can you still weld and everything?
That's how I how to build things and do a lot of those kind of work.
That is awesome. So you recently just this last year was the year 2 for the Magnús Ver Magnússon Classic. What do you have planned for 2023?
I'm still thinking about it. I'm thinking if I can top it. But yeah, well, it's going to be a kind of difficult, to improve on it. But because it is how I wanted it. I want it rough, tough. It isn't maybe the biggest weights in a show or anything like that, but the elements come into play. It's cold. It could be snow. It could, windy, and that's the going back to the roots of strongman, going back to the old days. The old farming, fishing, whatever that was done in Iceland. Those were the main things in the old days, and that's the reason why we have a lot of stones and this history and all that, because some of the things you had to prove your manhood by lifting a stone to get a work.
So my question is, how did you choose the athletes for the competition?
Some came from the shows. I run 3 shows in Iceland over the summer. So I took so there's a winner from each one of those, plus Eyþór Melstedt that got second place the year before. So he got an invite. Of course, Maxime Boudreau got an invite because he was the previous winner.
Okay.
And, then we run a qualifier in Gimli, Canada, as well. So I took top 2 from there. Then I worked with a person in Finland and here and there. From Australia. That's how we got 1 go. So there was a Magnús Classic qualifier down there as well. And we plan on having more of the qualifiers this year. So
Did you say you have a qualifier in the U.S. at all?
Has been worked on, but in North
Getting
America, yeah.
Ooh, that's exciting. Have you ever thought of doing an online qualifier just to see if there's any like unknown names that could potentially make some noise?
Yeah, that's also in a working process. That might happen as well.
All right, I'm excited to see what happens. So you're known as being one of the best referees. It has to do a lot with, one, your experience as an athlete and how many competitions you've now refereed, judged. And you're known for being very strict, but I feel like it's very fair. How can promoters at the local level try to replicate that quality?
Well, you know, refereeing it is not an easy job, and you know, sometimes you think you're on the edge there or something like that, but to be a good referee, you gotta try to be strict but fair. People gotta realize that this is not Olympic lifting. This is not powerlifting.
Yep.
And you're lifting awkward things. You're not just a bar over your head or something. You're lifting awkward things like a rock or a log or whatever. You cannot expect everybody to have perfect lockouts or something like that, because some of these guys actually have an injury or something they can't lock out. So what you look at for before that start, you look at that. Some of them I know, but you look at all that. Somebody has an elbow problem. He cannot fully lock out. So you got to look at that. And wherever he gets it, that's his lockout. So okay. People online might see somebody, he's not fully locked out there. That's as far as he can go physically. Same goes in powerlifting and bench press. If you can't physically lock out, that's what you do. That's what you can do. And it's all sorts of things. You got to realize in strongman you're allowed straps in the deadlift, which does make it change it, or even the figured out 8 straps have changed that a lot. Now, personally, I don't like the figure 8s. I don't like the athletes wearing a super suit, but it is allowed in a lot of the shows. I don't allow, in my show, there's no figure 8 straps allowed, and there's no super suits. I
love that. Yes.
It just the way I like to have it, as raw as possible. And, I want, you got to test the whole body, everything. And I believe, you're never stronger than your weakest link. And if you run through a whole contest and you don't really test your grip or something like that, and you have a grip problem, that's a weakness. Now, somebody might have a pressing problem. That's the weakness. Now, the trick is to have no weaknesses.
What were your weaknesses when you were competing?
I don't know.
You're like, I didn't have any. I mean, the first time you won World's Strongest Man, I think you were in the you finished top 3 at every event, right?
Yeah.
So that was great consistency.
Basic thing, try not to have any weaknesses. Well, of course, you can do a mistake at some point or something goes wrong. But if you have a weakness, usually it will find you at some point. It will, halter you or pull you down, and especially nowadays with these close, tough competitions, you cannot afford to have a weakness.
So you're saying that it's better to seek out your weaknesses so they don't come out at you during a competition.
If you have a weakness, if you feel you have a weakness, work on your weakness. put the most work into that, make that your strength.
So I know nowadays there's a lot about like sports psychology and everything. What did you do to mentally prepare for any of your powerlifting or strongman competitions?
I actually haven't told this to many. I met a hypnotist that did a number on me, and he gave me at those times it was tapes, right?
Yeah.
So like a Walkman kind of, right? And there was a tape for deeper, resting sleep. There was a tape for isolate the pain out and things like that. And I would go use those. Just like, it's like you go into your own mind. You're in your own world. And hey, if I would fall asleep with that tape, listening to the deeper sleep, if I would just doze off for 5 minutes, I felt like I had 2 hours rest.
Wow, yeah, so quality sleep is a very underutilized supplement or just regular thing to use, because that easily drops your testosterone levels, that increases your cortisol levels. So for you to actually have the ability to get that quality sleep with 4 or 5 minutes, that's amazing. That's a big advantage that you probably, did any of your other competitors do that?
No, and I didn't tell him about it.
Smart man. Smart man. So we've seen that Brian Shaw announced that this is going to be his last World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
Take us to when you decided when it was your last World's Strongest Man. What did that process look like for you to decide, hey, I'm not going to compete in World's Strongest Man anymore?
That happened in, I kind of thought about it before, but that happened in 97 in Las Vegas. I got injured on my last training session going for the show. And I was getting cortisone shots and everything. Like, I injured myself on a Friday. I was flying out to Vegas on a Monday. And my doctor had me come to his house to give me shots, both a Saturday and a Sunday, to, fix me up as much as possible. But that did hold to me, and I eventually ended up, I did not come through the qualifying group. And I left World's Strongest Man at that time. I got asked if I wanted to come back. I decided, nope, enough is enough. And I got, some injuries and this and that. And I felt I did not feel comfortable or confident enough that I would be able to win. And I just didn't feel like going if I didn't think I could win.
That makes sense. How many years after you retired from World's Strongest Man did you have that itch, or did you tell yourself, if I was healthy, I could still podium or win World's Strongest Man?
For a while, but I kept on doing a lot of other shows and a lot of other competitions and winning every show in Iceland and all that, but and a lot of demonstrations and things like that. But until I pretty much was like 45, then I had tore my quadricep tendons. I had this and that, and I finally on my last thing that I entered, I tore my bicep a little bit. Didn't tear it off the bone, but fractured it. And I was about 45 at that point, and I was like, okay, that's it. Now I've had enough.
Now, finally, at 45, you've had enough.
When the iron snake has taken too many chunks out of your body, you've got to realize you've had enough.
Okay. How how did that make you feel? Like, what went through your head when you finally made that decision, where you were just like, "This is enough." Like, what was so like? What can Brian Shaw expect to feel, or any athlete? What do they expect when your body finally tells you, "Hey, this is enough"? What kind of emotions were you feeling during that time?
Brian here has been fortunate enough, not really having that much injuries. He hasn't competing in that many shows every year, especially not the latest years. At some point I was doing up to 30, combined 30 shows, 30, it was demonstrations, competitions a year. I would be sometimes doing 2 competitions a week. It happened. So I would we would have to change a contest in Iceland, so I would be able to fly out on Saturday and compete in Finland on Sunday or something like that.
Wow.
So my body did get messed up, but Brian seems to be in good form, and his body is holding up. And hey, if that's the case, if you love the sport or you love what you're doing, keep at it.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll kind of go your path as well, where he won't compete at World's Strongest Man, but he'll still continue to do shows, keep pushing his Brian Shaw Classic. But yeah, that's huge. That me in the '90s, I remember watching the World's Strongest Man recaps. And seeing you, and then when I got actually competing in World's Strongest Man, Brian was one of the main names that I saw. So it's interesting to see how these different eras are coming to an end, because his era felt like was especially when he first started, was how big can you get?
Yeah.
And now it's slowly going back to, I think, similar to your era, where it was, who's the actual best athlete?
Hmm.
And where do you think strongman is at its best? When it's as big as you can get, or is it when it's just the best athlete?
I think get the perfect combination is the best athletes wins. The strongest athlete. I used to get that a lot. It's like, Magnus isn't that strong. He's just fast on his feet and explosive. But looking at the pure power events, overheads, first or second, perhaps maybe third. Deadlift, second. First. Squat, first. Every time. So
yeah, for you it's consistency across the board. Was there an athlete that reminds you of yourself when you were competing? From the modern athletes right now, who do you relate to the most?
Novikov.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But because I think the last year he only had one competition he did in podium, which was at the Rogue, where I think he just got 4th, right?
He won the Rogue this year at the Invitational. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. What was the last? He had a competition. Was it the Shaw Classic where he was 4th?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, okay. I knew there was one competition he did in podium, which is amazing to do in all the international events.
He can dominate and win every contest. It just does not happen.
Yep. And the only time he really does poorly on events, I've noticed it's an event where the taller you are, the better it is for you, like power stairs and stones to a certain extent.
Yeah. No, he's a hell of an athlete and impressive. He's a thinker as well. He really comes and studies everything and looks at everything, and he's got a plan when he goes into it.
When it comes to your personality, what are some of the characteristics that made you the athlete that you are?
My biggest influence that kind of I learned a lot from was John Paul Sigmarsson.
Was he the one that you went to see the powerlifter, correct?
He's the 4-time world's strongest man.
Okay.
He was winning the world's strongest man before I got involved. He had won four titles, and he was going to compete in 91 when he tore his bicep, and I was the alternate for that contest and got invited in his place, and I came in and won it.
You took the baton from him.
Yeah. So no, he was like I was kind of really athletic, but had the strength. I in my career I went up against guys that I would think some of them could squat the world, but to be able to take all that pure power and use it in a different way, it isn't everybody that can do that. When I won World's Strongest Man, I was the European powerlifting champion in the 275 class, and I won the Europeans by quite margin, or even beat the super heavies.
Yeah.
And that's just a couple of months before I won World's Strongest Man.
Yeah, so you had that strength base to begin with, and that transitioned very well into strongman. So what do you think is going to be the weight cap for for strongman? Like, how heavy can we really go with these weights? Like, how much can the body really handle?
You know what? If somebody would have told me 20 years ago somebody would pull 500 kilos, I would not have believed it.
Yeah, Eddie kind of blew that up, didn't he?
Yeah, he took it, to another level. Now everybody is chasing that, and it just shows you how far this sport has developed. But again, these athletes are way better trained as strongmen than we were in the old days. It's like we just showed up. Basically, I did a lot of shows. I just came off a plane. I would show up. Okay, what are the events? I had no idea. I would just compete.
That's wild. No offense to some strongman competitors, but sometimes I hear them complain about little things, about like the weight changes or like the barbell's not the exact same barbell that they use during training or something along the lines. And I'm just like, no. Strongman's about being adaptable to whatever situation's put in front of you.
Actually, how I would like to see it done.
Yeah.
Nobody gets to know the events until like 2 weeks before. They implement nothing. That's how I would like to see it done.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not worried about injuries or anything like that? What was that?
The best athlete will win. The best overall trained athlete will win.
I like your style. It's just like a Russian roulette for your competitions. I feel like somebody should try to do that. Actually, just like the day of the event, you just pick random events and all right, let's go.
I'd like to see it's like let's say we put together like, okay, there's an overhead. There's a pulling event. So they know there is a certain variation of things, but they don't know if it's the log, if it's the axle, if it's the dumbbell, whatever. Just be prepared, come in strong and in good shape, and you'll do good.
It's like, surprise, let's go. I have a question from some of the followers or from the subscribers. It's who do you think has better strongmen, Texas or Iceland? And I'm based out of Texas, so that's why the question had to happen.
Man, titles have Texas got?
I knew you were going to respond with that. Currently, I don't think there is a Texas World's Strongest Man.
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Trey Mitchell. I could see Trey Mitchell potentially becoming a World's Strongest Man for sure.
He has the potential to do so, yeah.
Yep. So by that answer, it's Iceland. Got it. All right, Sumner, did you hear that? Oh, sorry, no, that was Chase. Chase, did you hear that? Iceland by a lot. All right. So when it so right now, what are some of your goals for this year?
This year we are planning on having more Magnús Ver Magnússon, like Magnús Classic qualifiers. I want to see if I can top the one that the finals in Iceland.
Yeah.
With some things. Like I said, I like to have it raw. I like to use stones. Every show has an Atlas stones almost.
Yeah.
And I just want to have nature things, like and all sorts of stuff, and especially those logs that I have, which are pretty unique. I think they will be a part of that show forever. I might switch it up and go for a max of those logs for a change. So bring in a bigger log. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
But those are so great, and they're like, he's an artist. Richard Looney, my friend that made those, he's an artist.
Oh, that's exciting. All right, Magnus. Real quick, I'm always curious about what's the last book you read?
Excuse me?
What's the last book you read?
The last book?
Yeah, I like knowing what people read.
Oh, I haven't actually read a book for a long time. It must be a manual for something.
Hey, those are good books. You learn a lot from them.
It might have been a manual for I don't know, some things that I bought, either for a phone or something that I was putting together.
All right, and here's my.
Actually, a manual for equipment, gym equipment.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're an encyclopedia on gym equipment probably by now. Here's my last question. What does the perfect day for you look like?
Perfect day?
Yep.
That would be a busy day.
All right. What would it involve?
Yeah, I like being busy. I like to have a lot of things to do. The more I have to do, the more I get done. And I like to go through day like that. I like to come back at night and feel tired, and have a good rest and good sleep. My mornings is usually I'll start off having a coffee and a porridge.
And a what?
And porridge. That's
okay, got it. No.
And I use cream on my porridge.
How many calories do you go for nowadays? Or do you even track that?
Not as much. I don't count that anymore. It's like I don't eat as much as I did. Funny enough, I used to eat a lot actually, and I had serious problems trying to put on weight. I was burning everything that I would eat. So even so, I would try to add up for that with even with chocolates or whatever, just to get more calories.
All the chocolate, yeah.
Not enough calories, seriously.
I'm guessing you were burning, because even like from the videos I've seen, you were always pretty lean when it came to your World's Strongest performances. So I can just imagine the calories you had. But yeah, go ahead.
Usually, for World's Strongest Man, I would lose a little bit of weight. Not even intentionally, it would just happen. I was training harder. I was getting prepped. Even though I did all these shows over the year, I would only really aim for peaking. Would you say so? Maybe twice a year. Everything else was my event training.
Yeah, I was about to say, when you were doing those 30 events a year, so all those were just the training sessions pretty much.
Yes.
That is wild.
And, you know, I would show up somewhere or whatever, you know, guys have been training a whole year just for that show. And yeah, I got paid, you know, appearance money to show up, do my thing. I was not expected to win a lot of them. But so it was all training. And that was training because, like I said, I did not have a set of stones. I didn't have a log. I didn't have any of it. All my training was altered training to simulate movements in the gym.
Yeah, so you were getting paid to train. That's not a bad way to do it. All right, Magnus, I appreciate your time. I know we had some technical difficulties at the beginning. Thank you for being patient through that. Again, thank you so much for your time. Is there any where can people find you on social media?
They can find me on Instagram, Magnús Ver Mag.
Do you have a YouTube channel or anything?
No, not yet.
Nope.
But they can contact me through the Magnús Classic as well. That's we got a website on that,
okay.
So they can go watch the shows.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put a link in the description in the channel for this, and I'll have it ready for it.
Okay.
Awesome, Magnus. Again, thank you so much for your time. I hope you get to spend the rest of your time in Indiana eating all the food, all the drinking, and all the deer.
I haven't got the deer yet, but that's it. Sounds interesting.
It's delicious if you get it.
Reindeer in Iceland, so I haven't had the deer over here, but I'll got to look into that.
Yeah, for sure. Plenty of calories there, plenty of protein. All right, Magnus, thank you so much. You take care. Bye.